All right, let's dive in. Today, we're tackling a topic that's, well, it's woven into the very fabric of America, slavery.
Yeah, it's a heavy one, but absolutely crucial to understanding, well, America, even today.
Exactly. And we've got a mountain of sources to help us unpack it all. We're talking historical accounts, legal documents, personal stories, economic
The
analyses.
whole 9 yards.
And the goal here is to really understand not just the history of slavery, but also its lasting impact. How is it shaping us even now, centuries later?
It's fascinating, how we often think of slavery as this strictly Southern thing, but these sources really highlight how deeply it was intertwined with the entire nation
Yeah.
for centuries.
Yeah, and that's something I really want to get into. It's like, yeah, we know slavery existed in the South, but how did it shape the economic and political landscape of the whole nation? That's the question, right?
Absolutely. And to do that, we need to start with a fundamental truth, one that often gets overlooked. The transatlantic slave trade brought millions of Africans to the Americas, sure, but the majority actually ended up in the Caribbean and Brazil, not the U.S.
Right. I remember learning that in school. The sugar plantations, right?
Yeah.
Brutal conditions.
Absolutely brutal. The demand for labor on those plantations was massive. But here's where it gets interesting. In the U.S., the enslaved population actually grew to 4 million by 1860. That's because life expectancy for enslaved people in the U.S. was higher than in those other slaveholding regions.
Wow, I hadn't considered that. It's well, it's a chilling reminder of how deeply ingrained slavery became in the US. It wasn't just a temporary system, it was built to last across generations.
Precisely. And as we delve into these sources, we start to see how the justifications for slavery, well, they kind of evolved over time. In the beginning, it was this argument of necessary evil,
Yep.
like a temporary, unfortunate measure to build the nation.
Right, but then it morphed into something much more insidious. It went from being tolerated to being touted as a positive good.
Exactly. Think about Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers. He used that whole wolf by the ear analogy, you remember?
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
He was basically saying that letting go would be more dangerous than holding on, even if it's a scary situation. But that seems more like reluctant acceptance than full-on support.
True. And that's why figures like John C. Calhoun are so important to understanding this shift. He didn't just accept slavery. He flat out declared it a positive good for both whites and blacks.
Okay, now that's where I get lost. How could anyone, even back then, argue that enslaving another human being was beneficial?
Well, Calhoun argued that slavery was the foundation of Southern society, that it provided order and stability. He even went so far as to say that enslaved people were better off under the care of white masters than they would be if they were free.
It's just disturbing to read those words. Seeing how deep those ideas ran, it makes you wonder what kind of mental gymnastics they were doing to rationalize it all.
Yeah. It's essential to understand those rationalizations, though, because they reveal the deep-seated beliefs that allowed people to defend slavery. But it's worth noting that not everyone in the South bought into Calhoun's views. Robert E. Lee, for example.
The Confederate general, not exactly known for his progressive views on race.
True, but while he wasn't an abolitionist, he did acknowledge that slavery was a moral and political evil. However, he still believed that it was necessary for the South's way of life.
So even within the South, there were these internal struggles, these conflicting viewpoints about slavery. It wasn't this monolithic block.
Exactly. But while the South was grappling with all of that, the North was starting to move towards abolition.
Right, and that was a gradual process, wasn't it? Driven by all sorts of things, changing economic realities, Enlightenment ideals, religious movements.
Exactly. They passed gradual emancipation laws, and some slaveholders, whether driven by conscience or practicality, chose to free their slaves.
It makes me think of the Northwest Ordinance from 1787. That basically established this huge chunk of land as free soil, which had massive implications, right?
Absolutely massive. It was a major win for the abolitionist movement. Slavery couldn't expand into new territories like Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois. Imagine if those had become slave states. The balance of power would have been totally different.
It's like a sliding doors moment in history. So much was riding on those early debates over the expansion of slavery. It wasn't just an abstract moral argument, it was about the very soul of the nation.
Precisely. And while the international slave trade was officially banned in 1808, a horrific domestic trade emerged to fill the void.
And that's where things get even more heartbreaking. The selling South, the forced relocation of over 1 million enslaved people from the Upper South to the Deep South. The trauma didn't end even if you survived the Middle Passage.
Not even close. And these sources don't shy away from the brutality of it. Imagine being ripped from your family, sold at auction like livestock, and shipped hundreds of miles to work on a cotton or sugar plantation.
It's a level of dehumanization that's hard to even grasp.
And it wasn't just about the physical separation. It was about deliberately severing familial bonds, the psychological trauma of knowing you might never see your loved ones again.
These sources really bring that trauma to life through those personal accounts, don't they? They give voice to the anguish, the mothers separated from their children, husbands torn from their wives.
It forces you to confront the human cost of this system
Yeah.
in a way that statistics just can't capture.
It's a reminder that history isn't just about dates and battles. It's about individual lives, stories of suffering and resilience. And it's our responsibility to bear witness to those stories, to learn from them, and to honor the memory of those who endured them.
Going through these personal accounts, I'm just struck by the sheer brutality of it all. It wasn't just forced labor. It was this systematic dehumanization.
Yeah, it's one thing to talk about the laws and the economics, but to really confront the day-to-day reality of what enslaved people experienced, that's something else.
Absolutely. And that's where these personal narratives are so powerful. They give us a glimpse into a world that was intentionally hidden.
So what was that world like? What can you tell us about the living conditions?
Well, typical is tough to say because experiences vary so much depending on the location, the work, and of course the slave owner. But generally, we're talking cramped and often unsanitary quarters.
Like, what did these spaces actually look like? Paint us a picture.
Picture this. One-room cabins, often poorly constructed. Dirt floors, minimal protection from the elements. We're talking families crammed into tiny spaces, little privacy, few possessions.
I can't imagine the food was much better.
Sadly, no. Rations were meager. Cornmeal, salt pork, maybe some molasses. Just enough to survive, but definitely not enough to fuel the backbreaking labor they were forced to do.
It's amazing to me that people could even function, let alone work, on such a limited diet.
It's a testament to their resilience, really. And they often had to supplement those rations by hunting, fishing, or cultivating small gardens whenever they could.
Finding ways to carve out a little bit of humanity, a little bit of autonomy, even within that system. But even with those small acts of defiance, life must have been incredibly difficult.
It was. Malnutrition and disease were rampant, and infant mortality rates were just tragically high. And then, on top of all of that, there was the constant threat of violence.
The physical abuse, it's something you just can't avoid when studying this period.
It was an integral part of the system. Whippings were commonplace, and the severity, well, it could be absolutely horrific. Some slave owners even devised these elaborate torture methods using instruments that would just make your blood run cold.
It's hard to even think about, and it all goes back to that dehumanization, doesn't it? If you can convince yourself that another person is less than human, then the violence, the cruelty, it becomes easier to justify.
Exactly. And that dehumanization was reflected in the legal system, too. Enslaved people couldn't testify against white people in court. Their voices were completely silenced.
So no legal recourse if they were abused or mistreated. The system was totally stacked against them.
Absolutely. And this power dynamic, this absolute control, led to one of the most horrific aspects of slavery: sexual exploitation.
It's a subject that's often glossed over, but so important to acknowledge. Enslaved women were incredibly vulnerable.
Yes. These sources make it clear that this abuse was pervasive. White slave owners could take advantage of enslaved women without fear of any real consequences. And the children born from these assaults, often sold away, adding another layer of trauma to an already horrific situation.
It is sickening. And then you have the practice of deliberately encouraging enslaved women to have children, essentially treating them as breeding stock.
It was all about increasing the slave population, and therefore the wealth of the slave owners, commodifying human life in the most appalling way.
Trying to erase their individuality, their humanity. It's hard to fathom the psychological toll that must have taken.
It is. But amidst all this suffering, they found ways to resist.
You know, we often hear about the big rebellions, like Nat Turner's uprising, but what about the smaller, everyday forms of resistance? What did that look like?
Those acts of resistance, both big and small, they speak volumes about the spirit of these people. They fought back in countless ways. Work slowdowns, feigning illness, breaking tools, stealing food, all ways of disrupting the system, asserting some control.
It's like they were constantly probing for weaknesses, ways to chip away at that power structure.
Exactly. And one of the ways slave owners tried to maintain control was by suppressing education. Many states made it illegal to teach slaves to read or write.
Because knowledge is power, they knew that.
Of course. They were terrified of what might happen if enslaved people could educate themselves. feared it would lead to rebellion.
But that didn't stop people from learning.
Not at all. Secret schools popped up, often operating under the cover of darkness. And some enslaved people learned from sympathetic white people, risking severe punishment if they were caught.
That thirst for knowledge, that determination, it's pretty inspiring.
It is. And it wasn't just about practical skills. Religion also played a huge role in the lives of enslaved people.
Right. They were forced to attend their owners' churches, where they often heard messages that reinforced their subjugation. But they also carved out spaces for their own religious practices, didn't they?
They did. Secret gatherings, often late at night, hidden away in the woods. Places where they could freely express their faith and draw strength from their shared beliefs.
Creating their own version of spirituality, a way to find meaning and hope in a world that seemed determined to strip them of both. Did their interpretation of Christianity differ at all from the white slave owners?
Oh, absolutely. They found deep resonance in stories of liberation, like the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt. It fueled their belief that they too would one day be free. It's powerful, how people can find meaning and hope in even the darkest of times.
Yeah. It shows that even within a system as brutal as slavery, the human spirit couldn't be completely extinguished.
Exactly. And these stories of resistance, of faith, of the preservation of culture, they're just as important to understanding the full picture of slavery as the horrors they endured.
It's a reminder that enslaved people weren't just passive victims. They were individuals with agency, with beliefs, with a deep desire for freedom. It's just incredible, the strength and resilience they showed. But even though slavery officially ended in 1865, it feels like we're still wrestling with its effects today.
Oh, absolutely. The echoes of slavery are everywhere.
Mhm.
You see it in the racial and economic disparities, the social divisions, the fight for justice that's still going on.
Yeah, and when I think about that fight, I think about the Black Codes and Jim Crow laws that came after the Civil War. Weren't those designed to limit the freedoms of Black people even after emancipation?
Exactly. Think of it as, as a way for white Southerners to hold on to power, even though slavery was gone. These laws were insidious. They mandated segregation, they limited access to education and voting, created a system that was separate and unequal in every sense.
It's like slavery just morphed into a new form of oppression. And it wasn't just in the South either, right? I read about things like redlining in the North, which made it harder for Black families to buy homes, contributing to the wealth gap we see now.
You're right, it's not just a Southern problem. The legacy of slavery is an American problem. It's woven into our institutions, from housing and education to the criminal justice system.
So we're talking about a system that was built to disadvantage Black people from the very beginning, even after they were supposedly free. It's heartbreaking, but also infuriating.
It is. It reminds us that ending slavery on paper wasn't enough. It took generations of activism, struggle, and sacrifice to chip away at these systems of oppression. And that fight, well, it's still going on today.
I see that in movements like Black Lives Matter, the push for criminal justice reform. It feels like a direct continuation of that centuries-old fight for freedom.
It is. It shows us that history isn't just something we read about in books. It's alive, active, shaping our world today.
We can't understand where we are without understanding where we've been. This deep dive's been a powerful reminder of that. But before we wrap up, I'm curious about something we haven't touched on yet. The economics of slavery. What did our sources have to say about that?
That's where things get really interesting, and often a bit heated. Some historians argue that, at least for a time, slavery was actually profitable for the South.
Really? That's hard to wrap my head around, given how morally wrong it was. How do you even measure profit when you're talking about exploiting human beings?
It's a tough question, no doubt. But those who say slavery was profitable often point to the productivity of slave labor, especially in industries like cotton.
So the argument is because they weren't paid wages, the cost of production was lower, leading to higher profits for the plantation owners.
Exactly. And they also argue that the forced labor, the brutality of the system, led to levels of output that wouldn't have been possible with a free workforce. Of course, this completely ignores the human cost.
It's a disturbing thought. But even if we entertain that idea, what about the long-term effects? Didn't slavery ultimately hurt the South's development?
That's the core of the debate. Many historians say slavery created this dependence on just a few cash crops like cotton, and that it led to neglecting other industries that could have helped the economy grow.
It makes sense. If your whole workforce is enslaved, why invest in technology or education? You're stuck in a system that can't really sustain itself.
Precisely. And that concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a few, it probably prevented a strong middle class from forming limiting economic opportunities for most Southerners.
So even if some might try to claim that slavery was economically beneficial, the evidence suggests otherwise.
And remember, this isn't just about numbers. It's about understanding how deeply slavery impacted not just the economy, but the entire social and political landscape of the South, and by extension, the nation.
So much to think about. As we wrap up this deep dive, is there a final thought you'd like to leave our listener with?
I'd say think about how the legacy of slavery shows up in your own life, your community, the world around you. It's a history that's still unfolding, and it's up to all of us to wrestle with its complexities and work towards a more just and equitable future.
That's a powerful call to action. And for those who want to explore more, we've only just scratched the surface. There are tons of resources out there.
If you want a good overview, I'd recommend checking out historians like Ira Berlin and Eric Foner. And for a really immersive experience, try visiting the National Museum of African American History and Culture in D.C. It's an incredible testament to the resilience and achievements of Black people in the face of, well, unimaginable adversity.
Great recommendations. This deep dive has been a real journey. Hopefully our listeners feel ready to engage with this complex and crucial part of American history. Thanks for being our guide.
My pleasure. Remember, understanding history is an ongoing process, so keep learning, keep questioning, and keep striving for a better world.